A lot of people will say, yes, we're data-driven, yes, we're data-centric, but then they'll have data and data stacked up in a storage cupboard somewhere.
Are you a fitness-loving foodie? Then Defy Snacks is for you. Defy offers real, high-quality chocolate you love, combined with functional ingredients, giving you as much as 26 grams of protein per bag, so you can be both a little bit bad and a little bit good at the same time. As a female-owned brand, Defy dedicates a portion of its profits to other women-owned businesses. Currently sold in the US, you can find us on snacks.com and follow us on social at Defy Snacks.
Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm the founder of Automated Creative, the creative effectiveness ad tech platform. And this is a weekly podcast about the future of data-driven marketing. Every week I have the pleasure and the privilege of interviewing one of our industry's leaders. And this week is no different. I'm on a call with Dan Saunders, who is head of performance marketing at Evergreen Finance London. So Dan, for anyone who doesn't know who you are and what you do, could you give us a bit of background?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for that awesome introduction, mate. It's a lot better than I'm going to give you now. But I've been working in, my name is Dan Saunders. I've been working in marketing for the better part of 20 years now. Everything I do is very, very data-driven. I spend a lot of time speaking to C-suites or ExCo members, depending which way you like to refer to them as. So my job is basically showing how whatever we're doing is making money. I've got very good at making other people more money, and that's what I'm good at.
Right. So Dan, are you a marketing book reader? Is there a particular book that you find yourself talking about a lot?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm a bit of a bookworm when it comes to these things. Probably the best book on marketing that I've ever come across is actually an old sales book. It's going to be a lot of sighs and a lot of eye rolls at this, but the best marketing book I've ever read is The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfont. You know the guy from Wolf of Wall Street?
I do. I've not read it and not met anyone, as far as I know, that's read it. So what are the main themes of that book?
Basically, it's trying to get across the art of selling. You know, everyone always wants to show you how to be a better person at selling. My key driver is that everybody that works for a business that's not their own, or even in some cases, businesses that are their own, their main job is sales, no matter what they do. It could be dev, it could be, I'm trying to think of other non-sales, specifically, it could be ops. Everything they do is sales related. And this is why I think this book is so useful for marketeers as well, because it's showing how you can get across better in life as a better salesperson. So these key main elements are that you need to show you are mentally agile, fast on your feet, you won't waste people's time. So sharp as a tack is the phrase they use. Enthusiastic as hell. So you know that your product is the best thing that offer, you know, in some cases the product for people like myself is themselves. So enthusiastic as hell about your product. And then an expert in your field is where the third main point is as well. So if you can establish those three things to whether it's your bosses, to your clients, to your customers, they're going to buy from you and to continually buy from you as well. So there's a lot of life lessons that I draw from a very, very old sales book.
So now getting a bit more specific, have you got a marketing tip to help people become better data-driven marketers that you find yourself sharing?
Yeah, you know what, mate? It's one that's been said on your show before, but it just rings true no matter where you say. Don't get stuck by data paralysis. You know, people in our positions, we want as much data as possible, but often you look at it and you're like, well, where the hell do I start with this? If I do this, if I do X, Y, it's going to make Z happen. But if I don't do A, B, C is not going to happen, and that's going to interrupt that flow as well. So a lot of people will say, yes, we're data-driven, yes, we're data-centric, but then they'll have data and data stacked up in a storage cupboard somewhere, and they won't be using it as if it's too frozen to deal with it. So get stuck in, find a starting point, find your own starting thread using your own, not just your own KPIs, but your own goals, and follow it along and really dig in from there.
So we're now going to come on to your shiny new object, which is performance AI. So a lot of people listening to this will think they know what that means, but what is your definition of performance AI?
So the best thing I could always describe performance AI is things that used to be subjective, like artwork or content or just general, even like UX perspectives. Under the new age of AI, these things have all become quantifiable, and as soon as they become quantifiable, they become performance metrics as well. So, one of the things that I use in particularly for performance and AI is measuring the quality of content that we're putting out there. It's using different factors. There's an agency actually that uses it really, really well. I've tried to take my own version of this and really make it more for me and for the company. But it's looking at the actual quality of the content and being able to score it. Using things like the Fisher-Kleinen scale, the technical quality of what's there. Is it satisfactory? Is it for users? What age? Does the age that it's written for match the average age of your persona users? Trying to match these simple things, but things that we don't tend to take for the things that we used to take for granted as subjective. But now that it's become more objective, as I say, it then becomes more quantifiable. If it's quantifiable, then it falls under the realm of performance.
So how are you dealing with the fact that the subjectivity that the AI is scoring is based on training data that will be delivered by different humans with different subjective analysis of those creative elements? So, for example, if an ad was, I don't know, like high energy or cool or vibey, these are very subjective things that humans wouldn't agree on, but a human has to provide the training data for that AI. Or am I looking at it in the wrong way?
No, it's exactly that. And if you look into things like Adobe's adaptation, not adaptation, their acquisition of SEMrush or SEMrush, depending on the years that you've been in SEO. That is a key driving factor that performance AI is becoming more and more of an element, where Adobe, that was used a lot for imagery, has now come through. They've obviously gone through the different channels in terms of different CMSs, different art platforms, etc. But they're now using the SEMrush to then put a quantifiable score onto their own product. And this is a thing where we can see these multinational corporations are taking more notice of quantities. And this is the big thing that we know every time that you have to speak to a stakeholder. If you're speaking to CMO, CEO, CFO, they're going to care one of three things. They're going to care about time, money, and resources. And if you're doing your job right as a performance expert, the thing that they'll care most about is actual time and resource. Money will be shouldn't always be the last thing, but it'll be, if you can show they invest £1, that you're going to get £10 on the other end of it. This is the key element. And now the fact that we can bring this into the subjective areas, like I say, art, content, etc. This is the key element. And to answer your question, it's about taking, not just using tools in isolation, like Gemini, ChatGPT, etc. It's about taking a wider scope of that. So if I say we look at my site, for example, our site, we know we're in a really, really brilliant position. The fact that we know everything about our customers, because we have to get all the data right to make sure we're the right product for them, because we definitely don't want to be selling our product to someone that doesn't need it, or in fact doesn't actually want it. So it's about making sure that we deal with all these different persona types. And once you've built with these different persona types, again, factoring into the quantifiability, looking into that word that I just made up, is the real depth and the real art of performance marketing at the moment.
This episode of the Shiny New Object podcast is brought to you in partnership with MadFest. Whether it's live in London or streamed online to the global marketing community, you can always expect a distinctive and daring blend of fast-paced content, startup innovation pitches, and unconventional entertainment from MadFest events. You'll find me causing trouble on stage, recording live versions of this podcast, and sharing a beer with the nicest and most influential people in marketing. Check it out at www.madfestlondon.com. So what happens in a world where this stuff works 100% of the time? And that's a big if.
Oh, yeah.
It's a massive if. So if all media optimization is all automatable, then you just need a machine to do it, right? And then if all the subjective elements that you're talking about are correct, you can have a machine automate all of the ads. Everything's going to be automated, creative and media. So what will be the competitive advantage that brands can have apart from volume of media spend?
But the best thing about this as well is, and same thing for all AI. Eventually, it's going to take certain jobs, but it's not going to take all jobs. The human element is going to be still the key differentiating factor. As it stands, it will eventually become 100%, like you said. It's not there now, but at the moment in time, it's you put the piece in, and the piece will then be scored against these models. So if you went on some of the content Fisher Kleiner scores, for example, are on a 1 to 5 or 1 to 100. If you then get a piece of content that scores a 4 out of 5, then you think actually that's probably the best one to go with. You don't really need to spend too much time trying to get a 5 out of 5, making sure that you're not held in place by that quantifiable score.
So what do you think the role of the performance marketer will be in the next couple of years? And once again, making the assumption that everything that can be automated will be. What is the role of the performance marketer? And for those people who are probably rightly worried about their jobs, how do they make themselves future-proof?
It's more about balancing of the KPIs, because in any given scenario, AI will only, the key thing that we're given here is that AI is actually what people describe as artificial intelligence. At the moment, it's, the real description is LLM, large language models. And it's as you rightly said, Tom, that this is all coming from what people have put in and information that's come into it as well, until it gets to that point where it's evolving on its own. It's never truly at that stage. But the key thing that the performance marketer is going to have to do and will be doing going forward is trying to balance those KPIs, because KPIs shift on a day-to-day basis. I've been in this company for 4 years, and in this one particular role, I've never had the same KPI for more than sort of 3-4 months, and that's the same for every single role that I've ever been in. There's always a differentiating KPI. There's always one large, which is always try and get as much money as possible, but everything around that is the differentiation of, actually, we need to care about these KPIs. We need to care about this KPI, that KPI. If the LMM hasn't had that information before, it's not going to know what it is. And that's where the performance marketer comes in to balance these parts of information.
And with the subjective elements being tracked, what are the specific things that you think people listening to this podcast should be doing? You talked about matching copy to an age group, which is interesting. Often age groups can be pretty broad. So what else are the other use cases where you're like, oh, this is brilliant, this is really moving the needle for us?
I say simple things. This is stuff that I've been studying for absolute ages, so it sounds really patronizing when I say it's simple, but it's, things like different age ranges, different people from different backgrounds, people from, every differentiating value has a different relationship to certain elements. So, for example, if we take the color blue, so for my age group, when we're marketing, we associate different shades of blue in a negative fashion, or negative to neutral fashion, but more towards the newer generations that are coming into marketing as well. They see it in a more positive, neutral side as well. So there's a gradual shift along these different scoring elements. So this is where having your data rock solid right from the start, knowing it's even simple things like, color palettes, they can impact heavily on the sharpness of image, complexity of images. All these things that UX developers think about all the time, but then rather than it being their opinion, it's becoming more quantifiable to say, actually, our users prefer X, Y, and Z rather than A, B, C.
And how you talk about the color blue, for example, how were you isolating that as being effective in a performance scenario? I understand that on a website, for example, Google very famously tested 50,000 shades of orange for their, buy now button. So in a paid context, how are you isolating that variable so that actually young people do like that blue and older people don't?
Going back to basics, just doing simple A/B tests as well, trying to run them under similar scenarios. So so again, this is probably going to be the same for everybody else, but no 2 months are ever identical in the same sense that just because 1 month has 31 days and another month has 31 days, you can expect it to have the same results of it as well. It's trying to find those those quality of points for testing and making sure the testing conditions are set perfectly. So like I said, just getting the basics right in terms of A/B testing, having someone that's a data expert working alongside the UX team or the creative team or the branding team as well, to make sure that every decision you've done has a link back into what you're trying to achieve.
And so how would you manage the different types of subjective things that people are going to want to talk about, right? So your fixate is, for argument's sake, on color, right? Whereas someone else might be fixated on tone of voice. Like all of a sudden, aren't you going to have lots more stakeholders piling in here going, well, I want to know about feel, or I want to know about like culture fit, or all of this stuff that, as you say, before was subjective, now is, for argument's sake, quantifiable. So do you think that there's going to be a broader pool of people that need to sign this off? Because if you can track those things, then surely even within a performance ad, the brand team are going to have a strong opinion if certain metrics aren't tracking correctly.
Yeah, and this is why I'm a big fan of the omni-channel approach. People shouldn't be working in KPI silos, especially in different across different elements as well. Everyone needs to be working to the same goal. Just because, say, your product team has their KPI of how many times what's the improvement rate of a form being filled in, doesn't mean that's going to work well for the finance team, because it could be something else along the lines as well. Everybody needs to have the same KPIs and have the same goals going through. But as soon as you've established what they are, that's where the omnichannel and this element becomes a lot more predominant, because you're going into things that actually matter and you have the data to support it.
Well, look, Dan, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much. I learned a lot there, and I'm looking forward to staying in touch with you and seeing how this space develops. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, where would be a good place to do that? And what's a good message to you that you will actually reply to?
Something that's, anything that's not "Hey dear" anymore. There's something all of it. Even to the point now where people message me and say, "Hey, I really like the look of your dog." That's it. I've had probably about 4 or 5 messages this year, into the new year with that already. So it's something. Anything that's original, I will always give. Anything that's original and has substance to it. Not that we helped people in your situation fix X, Y, and Z. It's, hey Dan, I've noticed this. Is it worth us talking about?
Absolutely. Brilliant advice, Dan. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, Tom. It's really appreciated.
Hi. Just before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you could take the time to write a review of the shiny new Object podcast on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever it's called these days, or whichever podcast provider you use. We're an indie podcast, so it would go a long way for us if you could just share the word and give us a bit of a support on those channels. That would just be fantastic. If you haven't got time, that's also cool. And yeah, if you could tell your colleagues about the podcast, and also, if possible, don't forget to subscribe subscribe. And I'd love to hear your feedback. If you'd like to speak on the podcast or be a guest, or you think I'm asking the wrong questions, anything, I'd be super interested to hear what you think. So please email me at tom@automatedcreative.net. That's TOM at, I'm not going to bother spelling it. Anyway, you'll work it out. Thanks so much.